Hello everyone. We'll look at the homework for chapter 19. Starting with number 1 here. Totley Pickwick awarded 1,400 options to acquire 1,400 shares of its common stock. Fair value $13 each. Market price, exercise price, both equal to $5. What's the journal entry for the option on the date of the grant? Obviously, the fair value, $13 times 1,400 gives you total deferred compensation. So we're going to create that deferred compensation contra equity account, $18,200, and then that $18,200 would be expensed out of deferred comp over how many years? Doesn't say. But if it was 2 years, we just divide that by 2 and credit deferred comp, debit compensation expense. All right, number 2. Interesting problem here. We've got Elgin Homes as, let me point out number 1 was equity based. It didn't really say that, but it's equity based by virtue of the fact that we were making that entry at the beginning. If that had been liability based, we would not be making a journal entry at the beginning. All right, so number 2 here, this is another, looks like equity based stock options. At the grant date, the options had a fair value of $990,000. 3-year period, so it sounds like $330,000 a year. At the end of the year, Elgin had charged $330,000 to expense. But they want you to prepare the journal entry for year 2, assuming only 40% are going to vest. So it's a little bit of a challenge here, isn't it? $990,000. All right, let's go over here to the notepad. Hopefully you can see that. And what we have here is deferred comp. And we have Apex stock options. All right, and we just said that was what? 990,000. Just make sure. 990,000, 40%, 3 years. %. After year 1. Pearson doesn't have you actually work the first exercise, but if you were making these journal entries, first journal entry would be deferred comp, or compensation expense. Deferred comp, $330. All right, okay. So that entry has been made. They don't have you actually do that in Pearson, but that entry has been made. The second part of this is that only 40% are going to be exercise at this point, they think. So 40% of 990 is 396,000. So in reality, I should have 396,000 balanced there, shouldn't I? All right, so what entry are we going to have to make to get that to the 40%? Because that's 100%, this is 40. This is where we need to go. So 396 from 990, 594. Right, and if we're taking that out of stock options, because those are never going to be exercised, that's what we expect, then we need to, what, make an entry over here for 594. And we've also got this deferred comp that's been reduced by 330. So my balance there $66,000. right, so we also need to make this entry for 594, which I think Pearson has. But the other part of this is if 396 for 3 years is the magical number, so that divided by 3 is 132,000, then we should have 132,000 left down here, shouldn't we? $396, if that was the original amount, divided by 3 is 132. So if we make that in year 1, or should have, we did, we made 330, didn't we? 132 in year 2. And so that leaves 132,000 balance for year 3. So there's my balance beginning year 3. So how do we get from 66 to 32? That looks like that's 66,000, doesn't it? So we got to make that journal entry, don't we? So from that spreadsheet, let's go back over here to the exercise. There's my 594. All right, there's the 594 that we entered, 594. And let's see where we find the 66,000. Because that 66 should be an increase in deferred comp. It's not a decrease, right? There's the decrease. It went to compensation expense. Compensation expense, but now instead of having another 132 and 132 because we wrote off 330,000, now we've reduced this to only 40%. We're actually going to have to make a debit entry to get this back to 132 for the last year. All right, so let's go look at the solution then. Here's your 594 out of stock options. Take it out of that. Of course, it's got to come out of deferred comp, reversing that original entry. And there's my deferred comp. See, I'm adding back to deferred comp. I'm not taking it out, and I'm taking out of expense for year 2. Because remember, 330,000 minus 66, 330 minus 66 is 264. So after you make this entry here, you're going to have $132,000 left, which is 1 year. See how that works? Okay. I'll pull up that notepad again. That's what it should have been. Should have been. If we knew it was 40% from the beginning. That's what it should have been from the beginning. We didn't know that. We started with 990. We had to true this up, like that term, true this up. Year 1 was booked. Year 2 has been booked. But to get to the 264, we got to add 66 back to leave 132 left. I love that problem. Good exercise. Makes you think. All right. Number 3, expired stock options. Very simple, straightforward exercise. Just take it out of stock options, 150, but to expired stock options. So you're just taking out of one equity account and putting in another, just to give more of a, make it more visible exactly what happened to your stock options if they weren't exercised. Number 4, this is liability-based stock options. $1,800 options acquire 1,800 shares of common stock, 1-for-1, which they can what? Be sold back to the company. So what does that tell you? Can be sold back to the company. Liability-based. Equity-based stock options cannot be sold back. Once you've got the stock, it's yours. The liability base, yes, you can. Option vests over 3 years. Market price and exercise price are $5. At the grant date, the options have a fair value of $27 each. So what do? We multiply 27 times the 1,800. There's my total compensation over 3 years, $48,600. All right, so then 1/3 of that each year, we're going to recognize at the end of the year. Compensation expense, put into your liability. At the end of 3 years, your liability is set up there. Liability based. Number 5. Here's a SARS plan, stock appreciation rights. Granted 50,300 rights to its executives. Pre-established price is $26, which the market value of the shares on January 1. Vesting period is 2 years. You know, the one we did in the PowerPoint was 3 years, so this one's 2 years. And so you're going to accrue 50% of that at the end of the first year, if there in fact is an increase in the stock price. If there's no increase in the stock price or it's lower, you don't do anything. No liability. But here we got $40 and $44. So the first year, $40 minus 26, that's $14 a share times 50,300. And we're going to take 50% of that. Let's just look at the table. Be clearer than me writing on the screen. December 31, 2015. Closing price was 40, so we had an increase of $14. So if all of those rights come to pass a year later, 50,300, then we got $704,200 to pay out. Again, 2-year period, we're only going to accrue half of that. So half of 704,200 is 352,100. All right, so we're going to make a journal entry for 352.1. Then the next year, it's up another $4. So the total payout is going to be 905.4, right? That's the end. 100%. So that's how much I should have in my liability, 905.4. That's how much is in there. So that's my plug number to get it up to that liability amount. So there's my 352.1, 2015. In 2016, 553.3. There's my first year's journal entry, debit compensation expense, credit obligation under SAR plan. There's year 2. Again, that's your plug number to get up to the full value. And then we're going to debit obligation and credit cash for 905.4. Very straightforward. Good problem too. Stock appreciation. It's really a liability-based plan, right? No stock involved. You're just comparing the current market price to the beginning amount, beginning stock price, to see how much of a bonus do you pay out. There's no stock involved at all. It's liability, setting up the liability of what you're going to pay like a bonus. All right, number 6, restricted stock. Shadrach Company issued 106,000 shares of $2 par. Restricted stock to its 5 key executives. Requires a vesting period of 5 years. All right, so how much deferred comp are we going to have to set up? There's 106,000 shares, right? Market value times the number of shares. That's the value of it, market value. 4,240,000. There it is, 4.2 million. Common stock is at par, and so my plug number is additional paid-in capital. So its par value is $2 times 106 is 212. So if that's 212, that's 4,240,000. Then my additional paid-in capital must be 4,028,000. That's my plug number. How much is my compensation expense each year? 4,240,000 divided by 5. There it is. So you would have that entry 5 times at the end of the year. To take it out of deferred comp, put it to compensation expense. All right, number 7. This is a pension question. I think the next 4 are pension questions. Especially like number 9 and number 10. We'll get to. You can see the solution there. They don't even give you a solution. That there is a solution. There's no window to open. But what are you doing there? You're trying to come up with the pension cost. You can kind of look at what you need to do there as far as your service cost. That's obviously an expense. The interest is an expense. Return on assets, is they negative? Why is that? Expected return on assets, 51,000. That should reduce your pension costs, right? If it goes up in value. Amortization of prior service costs, 28,000. That's an expense. And amortization of actuarial gains. So anytime you see a negative on here, those are gains. That's reducing your total pension costs. All right, then number 8. And you're just making a journal entry here for pension expense. The net pension liability here is a plug number. The pension expense tells you is 555,000. My OCI, prior service cost 85. There's the cash I'm gonna have to pay. There's my actuarial gains and losses, and there's the net pension liability. That's the plug number. All right, let's look at number 9. This is a good one because it's got a lot of data going on here. And what they want you to calculate here is the PBO. Now, you ought to be able to do plan assets as well from this. In fact, question number 10 is about plan assets, but this is about the PBO. Remember, plan assets, PBO, they should be equal. If plan assets are more than PBO, you're overfunded. If plan assets are less, like Tennessee, if plan assets are less than PBO, like California, it's underfunded. So what you have to do here is plug in what is the balance of your liability, your projected benefit obligation. There it is again, liability. So you see there, the fair value of beginning plan assets, that's not what they're asking for. They're asking for PBO. Projected benefit obligation at the beginning of the year is 679. So there's my 679. The service cost is 59,500. So that's driving up my liability. My interest on beginning PBO is 56,200. There it is again. That's an increase. We don't care about actual loss on plan assets or this 35,100 composed of expected gains of 59,000. That's plan assets and unexpected losses. Actuarial gains due to changes in assumptions about PBO, 98,545. So we plug that in. Right? Actuarial gains. Your actuaries, they've decided that based on what you've got some gains. So a negative is a good thing. That's reduced. That's like a debit. That's reducing your projected benefit obligation. And then it says that we made payment to retirees of $29,784. So that should be there as well. Contribution made by the sponsor corporation, that's irrelevant. That's all those that we skipped over, those are plan assets. All right. If we were to go over here and use this, because I'm not going to remember those numbers, for plan assets, 578. Well, let's try to do it. Let's go over here. $578. What else is going on back there in this exercise? Actual loss on plan assets, 35,100. Composed of expected gains of 59. And losses of 85.1, 59 and 85.1. And we're doing plan assets. Asset liability model, right? 5985-1. Benefit payments made to retirees, 29,784, and then contributions made. So 29,784 and 86. Payments. To retirees. And then funding. All right, so what are our plan assets? We've got everything in there. Well, if I add all that up, 578 plus 59 minus 85.1 plus 29.784 minus 86. I think that's 495. 684. Ending balance. What was my PBO? $666,371. Put it in the wrong place. So the difference is 170,687. Under or overfunded? Under. I got more liability than I got assets. Underfunded. Okay, number 10. This one is almost identical. Now this one gives you the ending balance of the PBO. Let me go back. That one doesn't. So this one gives you the ending balance. All the numbers have changed, so. Beginning plan assets. So this is like the flip-flop. What we just did on the notepad there for plan assets, here you're going to do the notepads. Here you're going to do the plan assets in this problem. So there we start with 571. Expected gains, 58,000. There's the losses, 85.5. Numbers are similar, aren't they? There's the funding, 86,600. There's my payments out. So what you see on that spreadsheet over there, very similar. 600,317, and it tells you the ending PBO is 665,273 here, and so we are underfunded. We've got more liability than we've got assets. So let's work through this one as well, and this time we'll do the PBO on the notepad, right, with this information. So what's the beginning projected benefit obligation at the beginning of the year? 682. Service cost is 55, 682 and 55. Maybe I remember that. Beginning PBO, service cost. Here we're doing the liability. We did the asset on the other one. What were the other things going on here? $682.55. interest on beginning PBO 56.6. Actual, we don't care about that. Actuarial gains, you to change the assumption of PBO is 98,544. Gains, 98,544. Actuarial gains. What else we got over here? Retiree payments, I know it's in there. There's benefits made to retirees, 29,783. Payments to retirees. So what is my PBO? Ending PBO. They give you a number over there. Let's see if it's right. Talk so much, I'm hoarse. 682 plus 55 plus 56.6 minus 98.544 minus 29.783. So that is 665. That sounds familiar. 665,273. I believe they give you that number, 665,273. Yep, right there it is. 665,273. There's my plan assets. That's the PBO. And again, it looks like we're what? We are underfunded. More liability than assets. Underfunded. How do you correct that? Well, funded more. Contributions there, 86.6. You need to add another 64,956 to it, don't you? To be fully funded. Doesn't have to be exact, but it's underfunded at this point. All right, so those are two good exercises. Again, you can go back and work number 9, and do both sides, and number 10, do both sides, like we just did. Very important to understand the spreadsheet here. All right, number 11. Key term there, liability classified award. You should automatically know under liability, there is no journal entry at the beginning. That's only on stock-based, equity-based. Not stock-based, equity-based classified award. So there's no initial entry. But at the end of year 1, we need to what? Make a journal entry for our deferred comp, which is compensation expense. There is no deferred comp, compensation expense. Debit compensation expense, credit the liability, the obligation. All right, so they give you, we don't have to calculate, it's just 220,000 divided by 2, right? 220, right there it is, 220 divided by 2. So you're gonna have 110,000 each year. Entry for year 2. All right, then they change it. Requirement C, prepare all journal entries in year 2 if the probability is reduced to 70%. 70%. So how do we do that? All right. We're going to assume we make year 1. All right, 110, 220. I guess that says that 70% is eligible now, if I read that right. So 70% of 220 is 154,000. That's what it should have been. And we've already booked what, 110? They don't have you make that entry there again, but the assumption is you make that entry there, 110. And the total amount should be 154 because 70% of 220, 70% of 220 is 154. And so to get to 154, we just make it 484. I can go over here and do this on the notepad. $220,000. First year is compensation expense, 110. And liability, classified, obligation, whatever it is, 110. All right, then they decide that that 220 should only be what? 70%. That's what's 154. We've already made 110. If this total amount should be 154, then that number there has to be what? $44,000. All right, that's what you got to make to get it to 154. Then what if they expire? All right, well, we just debit liability for 154, don't we? And credit additional paid in capital expired options. I didn't make that over here. At 110, and then we got 44. Then to get rid of that, we got to make an entry here for 154. Make that 0. All right, one more. Restricted stock. And horse, talk so much. 52,000 shares, $2 par, restricted stock. Market value is 34, that's what's important, $34 times 52,000 shares, 1768. Par value is 52,000. Additional paid in capital is your plug number, 1664. End of each year, we're going to make a journal entry. 4 years, so 4 times, we're going to have 442, 442, 442, 442. Now my deferred comp is 0. All right. And no other journal entries are made. I mean, your common stock and your additional paid in capital were set up on day 1. So if you make it through those 4 years, there's no journal entry. You just hand over the stock certificates to these individuals who are in this stock appreciation or this restricted stock plan, get my terminology right. You just hand it over, right? So the difficult part of this problem is, what do you do if 3 of the executives leave on January 1, 2017? Which is, you got 15 entered, you got 16 entered. So you got 2 years down. Let's go here to the notepad. If I remember these numbers, let me write it down. 442. can't even read my writing. That's 1768. That's 1718. Hopefully 1768. So what you got here is deferred comp that we set up. We're going to leave out the, well, you probably shouldn't leave it out. The common at par and the additional paying capital. Well, we'll see if we need to do that or not. All right, so we got 1768. And each, the first 2 years, we've recognized 442, haven't we? 442, 442. All right, those entries have been made in a journal. They've been posted here to my ledger. And I've already forgotten how many people left. I need one of you all here in front of me to tell me. Oh, there it is. 3 of the executives leave. So 3 out of 5, only 40% should have ever been put in there to begin with, correct? So 40% times 0.4 is 7072. So this number needs to be of course, we've already deducted that. We need to get to 7072 to start with. And 7072, if I'm making an entry for year 3, 7072 divided by 4 is how much per year? You work this several different ways. I'm just on the fly right now. Divided by 4 should have been 176.8 per year. And so if I'm 2 years into this and I've got 2 years left, then I should have a balance of 176.8 times 2. So my balance should be 353,600, right? Because then that's going to be split into 176.8 and 176.8 for year 3 and year 4. So this balance should be over here as 353.6, I believe. So how do you get to that? Well, what's 1768 minus 442 minus 442 is 884. So that is my balance, 884. But my balance should be 353.6, shouldn't it? So how am I going to adjust deferred comp? And my stock as well. I am going to have to adjust my common stock and my additional paid-in capital. So 884 minus 353,600 says I need a journal entry here for 530,400. I've got to credit deferred comp. At the same time, I'm going to have to what? I'm going to have to debit common stock and also additional paid-in capital. Because remember, only 40% of those shares are still relevant. Go back and look then. They make the original entry there. There's year 1. I put on the screen. See, that's the same entry you made at the top because you had no knowledge of this till after year 2. All right, so there's the 530,400, isn't it? Deferred comp. Remember that over here? Credit. And if I'm taking that out of deferred comp, I need to take that out of compensation expense as well, don't I? Yes. So how do I correct this common stock and additional paid-in capital? Let's go back here and look. If you got 52,000 shares and only 40% of those are now relevant, you got 20,800. I don't think this is going to show up right on the screen. 52,000 times 0.4 is 20,800. And that times $2, well, it should be 60% because that's what I need to make the journal entry for. So it's 52,000 times 0.6. Sorry about that. 52,000 times 0.6, 31,200 times 2, 62,400, I believe. Yeah, there it is, 62,400. 62.4 is because 52,000 shares there times 60%, because that's the ones who are no longer there. But we have to take that out of our common stock account at $2, 62.4, and then that's your plug number, 998,400. All right, there's my deferred comp, and we also have to reduce the compensation expense we've already booked that we shouldn't have. All right, so from that point forward then, there's your 176.8 for the final 2 years. Compensation expense, deferred comp for the 2 executives still there, 3 are gone, 2 are still there. Go back and look at the notepad, see if that helps. $62.4. And originally the common stock had how much in it? And there's the 176.8, right? Those last 2 journal entries for year 3 and year 4. Here it is, 104 at 1664. So the 104 minus the 62.4 leaves me with 52,000 times 0.4 times $2, 41.6. And then whatever my apex correction was, the plug number, $998.4. $665,600, which should be what? That should be 40% of 1664. Yep. All right. All this is based on 60% are gone, only 40% remain. That's 40%. That's only 40%. You can work it that way as well. If you know what these numbers are supposed to be, you back into it, right? Both of those can be plug numbers. That's the original full for 5 people. You only got 2 people left out of 5. This should be 40% of that. 2 divided by 5. That's what you should have left there. That may be the easiest way to work it. All right, so that's chapter 19. I believe that was the last one. Hope everyone's doing well. We will pick up next time. Of course, there will be an exam on chapter 17, 18, and 19. And then after the exam, we'll start with chapter 20. We'll be on the downhill approach to the end of the semester. Again, if you have any questions, please email me. I'll be glad to try to work through those with you. You've got the videos here, about as interactive as it can get for you to look at. So I hope you have a good day, and we'll talk again soon.